Welcome to the backstory, where we take one subject and break it all down. Today, can you guess? It's all about snakes. We're getting into the slithery truth about these little guys with professional snake wrangler Bruce Ireland. He's a San Diegan. He's going to talk about how you can tell a venomous snake versus a non-venomous snake and why you shouldn't fear them. I'm Stephanie Simmons. Here we go. So Bruce Ireland, I have to say, this is the first time I've ever done a sit-down interview with a snake in my lap. Just chilling.
It's the first interview I've ever seen somebody do with a snake in their lap, so good on you.
It's perfect. I mean, part of me wants to do the Britney Spears dance, you know?
Which you can.
Yes, we'll try that maybe in a little bit. Yeah. But I'm so glad you're with us because we, on the backstory, explore really deep dives into topics, and you being a San Diegan and rehoming snakes, helping people who are too afraid of snakes. Tell us how you got into this and this whole process.
The short story is I fell in love with snakes as a 7-year-old little kid in Texas. My family.
Now we might have a bit of a situation.
No, he's just gonna chill. He likes that spot. My family moved to Houston, Texas when I was young, and I was shy and I was really little, and out my back door was wilderness. And I discovered right away Texas had a lot of snakes, and I became fascinated with them. Because some of them were dangerous to me, and I knew that, but there was some fascination with catching a snake that you knew was venomous. Yeah. And I would keep them for short periods of time. My father was the type that as long as I wasn't crying, he would let me do whatever I wanted. He would come out, make sure I wasn't doing anything dangerous, and leave me alone. So I fell in love with snakes at that age, and I have always found them fascinating. Anywhere I go on any trip we take, I'm always looking for the local snakes.
So being a professional snake wrangler, do you have to go through some sort of training, or is this a self-taught sort of thing?
So I learned everything that I know about snakes on my own. I did watch people like Steve Irwin, who everybody loves Steve. I loved his way with the animals. I loved how he spoke to the animals as if they were his friends. But the training that I now teach other people is all self-taught. And from the mistakes I've made doing it over the years, I put that into a training course, and now that's what we train all of our team as well as the firefighters.
But when you say mistakes, I mean with dangerous snakes, you don't really have a big room for error there.
Yeah, so I've never been bitten by a venomous snake. The mistakes that we made that we've learned from are little things like getting a snake in my tools and realizing I haven't taken the lid off my bucket. Now I've got to either put the snake back down or have the homeowner who's scared to death help me with the bucket. So little things that I've learned how to make the job smooth and safe. Yeah. And as we've
calming as well. Yeah. I was scouring through your social media and I saw a recent post that you did, which would scare me. I'm not afraid of snakes, but this scared me because we love our pets. And there was a snake wrapped around a dog's snout.
Yeah.
So as a pet owner of a dog, I would be terrified to see that. So how do you stay calm and keep the owners calm in situations like that?
Yeah, that was a really unique situation. It was actually that species of snake that you have in your lap, which is a gopher snake, so non-venomous.
Non-venomous.
The call came in, somewhat frantic lady saying, my dog just showed up at my sliding glass window with a huge snake wrapped around its face. And she said, I am texting you a photo now. So immediately I got the picture, noticed what it was, and was able to tell her, okay, it's not a venomous snake. Your lab is doing what labs do, pick up stuff, carry it around. It held on to that snake for the 15 minutes that it took me to get there. And when I walked in the backyard, the dog's name was Casey. Casey still was so proud to come running up to me with this thing in its mouth.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really biting the snake. It didn't appear that the snake was injured, but it wasn't going to let it go either.
Yeah,
and I asked the homeowner, can you do me a favor and get me Casey's favorite treat? So she came out with some biscuits. I had Casey sit, which she did, and I said, treat. And she literally went, boop, and the snake fell out on the ground. And we picked up the snake. It was covered in dog slobber, but it was no worse for the wear, and we let it go, and Casey was totally fine. Now, had that been a rattlesnake, unfortunately, dogs and rattlesnakes don't often end well.
So if a dog gets bit, because in San Diego, I mean, you see them on the trails all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of people have their dogs off the leash. So what do you do? Do you have to inject them with the same type of anti-venom like you would a human? Okay.
Yeah, so a bite to a dog is no less of a medical emergency than a bite to a human. The treatment is almost the exact same thing, except the human treatment costs a heck of a lot more because of our insurance system. They bill this much to hopefully get this much. When your dog is bitten, it is a medical emergency. You have to get your dog to the vet. You also have to get it to a vet that has antivenom, and they don't all. So I always tell people, if you have dogs, find out what your closest vet is, because if you waste the time to go to your vet to find out they don't have it, time is tissue, and you've lost that time, and that dog is now suffering because you went to the wrong vet. So make sure, same with hospitals, not all hospitals in San Diego carry it, which is hard to believe, but they don't.
Why?
Don't know. Most of the majors do. I know my closest one in Carlsbad is Scripps Encinitas.
Yeah.
I know most of the majors have it, but none of the little emergency places on the corner, those doc in a box type places, none of those have antivenom.
They all should, though, in San Diego.
They don't.
And recently in Southern California, we've had, is it rare, let me ask you this as we pivot to human bites, is it rare to have a human bit by a rattlesnake?
So as you probably know, we've had 2 publicized cases in the last 45 days of humans not just being bitten, but dying from that. That is incredibly rare. Statistically, there's 340 million people in the United States. On average, there's about 8,000 bites a year by a venomous snake that's reported. Of those, 5 people don't survive. And most of those, it's because of they're allergic to either the venom of the snake or the antivenom. And they don't know that. You're not going to know you're allergic to venom unless you're bitten. I suspect once they peel back the layers and do a little research, both those people that passed away, so sad, I'm really, really upset about it, but I'm guessing they were both allergic to the venom.
Gosh.
So it's very unfortunate.
What a horrible hand to be dealt.
But here's an interesting stat. 8,000 people are bitten. They say of those, 80% the human chose to engage the snake, meaning I said, hold my beer, let me go and be cool and try to grab that snake.
Because a rattlesnake has to be coiled. Am I right about that?
They can turn and bite from a stretched position, but the typical strike is launched from a coiled sitting position. So they'll coil their lower body as the base, and they'll throw that top half of their body. But they can turn, like if there was a snake on the trail and I picked it up, it could just turn and bite me. Yeah. It doesn't have to coil to do that. But those people that chose to engage the snakes, 80% of those 8,000, if they'd have left the snake alone, it would have never bitten them. So it's not an accidental bite for 80% of those people that are bitten.
So let's talk about precaution here. Say it was an accident. Someone gets bit on a trail. What is the protocol, and what's that time frame where this person's going to be okay if they're not allergic?
Yeah, assuming they're not allergic, time is tissue. The faster you can get to a medical facility that has antivenom is key. You don't want to do anything rapidly to get your heart rate up. Now, it's counterintuitive to think I've just been bitten. I would probably try to keep my heart rate down, but some people are going to panic and run. I think one of the people that was bitten tried to ride his bike back to his vehicle, which obviously probably got his heart rate up.
Yeah, pumping.
Which probably played something to do with it, but again, that shouldn't have caused him to die. But once you're bitten, it is a medical emergency.
It's okay.
The thing you need to do first is your phone. If you have cell service, is call 911 and let them know that you've been bitten, let them know how old you are, let them know what time you were bitten and where you are.
Yeah.
It's best if they can get a vehicle to you, great, an ambulance. If they have to, a helicopter can come in and get you if you're somewhere pretty remote, but you have to get treatment. Time-wise, you could probably go for a long time without antivenom, but you're going to start to lose body parts. Stuff's going to come off.
They would have to amputate. Okay,
it would
15 hours, say we're remote.
I wouldn't want to be that long.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say if you're bitten, the best course of action is either have somebody drive you or get somebody to call 911 and have a vehicle or a helicopter pick you up. The faster you can get to antivenom, the better you're going to end up. Also, antivenom is kept in a freeze-dried state. It's a powdered state, so they have to know that you're coming in. So what we tell people is call ahead, call Scripps or Poway or anywhere, let them know I'm a 50-year-old male, I'm coming in, I was bitten by a rattlesnake. And they start constituting or reconstituting that antivenom back to fluid, which goes into an IV that's then given to you intravenously.
When you go on these calls, do you carry anti-venom on you?
Cannot give it to myself, no.
Okay.
Because of the way it's given through an IV port, I'm not trained to port myself. I don't think that I could even do it to myself. But no,
Wow.
none of us carry antivenom.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we were rolling, you and I were talking, and I'm fascinated with why humans are afraid of snakes in general. Is it the odd movement? And then I would think, I'm not afraid of snakes, but I don't know enough about, this one besides the obvious rattle, these diamonds versus this color versus this. They're so similar, a lot of them are. And then one is venomous, one is not.
Yep.
So I would assume that the general population of fear comes with, I don't know if that's venomous or not. So can you give us some really quick tips on, you're not a snake wrangler, you're not a snake expert, so how can we decipher?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's key if you live in a place like San Diego and you enjoy the outdoors, which most of us do because that's why we live in such a beautiful place. First, you should know what snakes you might likely encounter. And there's not that many. There's probably 10 or 12 types of snakes that you're going to see in San Diego. All of them are harmless except one, and that's going to be the rattlesnake. It's the only snake in the entire state, and there's 72 species of snakes here, that is dangerous to humans if you're bitten, is our rattlesnake. So telltale signs, no pun intended, rattle on the tail, big head. And if I can borrow your buddy for a second, I'm going to show you guys something really quick.
She's been in there for quite some time.
Okay. So this again is a gopher snake. What you will notice is nice pointed tail. Tail comes to a nice long point. Obviously no rattle there. If you can see the tail, that's telltale sign one. The next thing is this guy's head. Again, nice tiny little head, almost the same size as their neck. So that obviously wouldn't be a rattlesnake. Had this been a rattlesnake, its head is going to be double that size.
Okay.
And the reason they have big heads is they have venom glands, which are basically big pouches, sacs of fluid attached to two folding fangs. So when a rattlesnake bites, it happens rapidly. It's faster than the human eye can blink. The fangs go out. It's just like getting a shot in your arm. The doctor gives you a needle, pushes the medicine in, wipes off the little blood, pulls back, except with a rattlesnake, you're not getting medicine. You're not gonna see two big gaping holes like they show in the movies. A lot of times once the blood's wiped away, you wouldn't even know you've been bitten. But these guys don't have those big venom glands, so they have that nice small head. All the other snakes in California, besides the rattlesnakes, are gonna have small heads.
Okay, that's
So
very
that's
important
the
to know.
two main. Now, a lot of times people will see a snake in their yard and all they'll be able to see is that much. And then if you can't see enough to know, it's best always to just leave them alone and call us. Yeah.
So how do we get in touch with you?
So I'm all over the place. My phone number, I joke with my wife, is in more people's phones, women's phones, than any guy should probably ever have, but it's for the right reasons.
She's a comfortable woman.
Yeah,
she's secure
very
in her
confident
marriage.
in herself. But I put my number out in a lot of different places, social media, Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, also on Nextdoor. That's kind of how I got started doing this, is I made a post 8 years ago and just said, stop calling the fire department. Here's my phone number. And we get sometimes 25, 30 snake calls a day.
And you service what areas, so people know?
So when I started, it was me alone, and I wouldn't go more than 30 minutes to get a snake. So I was saying no to a lot of people.
San Diego County.
Yeah.
But you will go to all
So now I
areas.
have 43 people.
Okay.
We got people as far north as Pendleton and all the way to the Tijuana border. The only place that we have a tough time is far east, almost to Imperial County. We just don't have anybody out there yet. But we're growing.
Okay, two really quick questions because we want to see your friends that you brought. Will you talk to us about rehoming? Because you have said that you've seen twice the amount, and but you don't euthanize these animals.
No. So everyone on my team, including myself, loves snakes. We also love helping the community, and the service was started because I learned the hard way that our local firefighters are typically who gets called. Someone sees a snake, they dial 911. Even though it's not a medical emergency, they think it is, so they call 911. What that does is, A, put a fire truck out for something that isn't an emergency, which means they can't help in a true emergency. So I started it saying, look, don't call the fire department, call the snake wranglers. We'll come get it. We'll educate you a little if you want to learn about snakes. And then every snake, unless it's non-native or injured, goes right back out into the wild. So we can't take them more than about a half mile pushing it. If we can't find a place suitable, we'll go a mile. But any further than that, their life expectancy is thought to drop quite rapidly.
It's very humane.
Yeah. And we try to find areas where they're going to have food, water, and shelter, which are the 3 things they need to survive. So this guy right here, he'd have to have gophers and rodents and water. And, you know, he's an older snake. He's big. I would make sure he had a really good home.
Yeah, you love these animals.
I do. I'm passionate about them.
And you brought some friends with you, so let's take a look at them now.
I did.
Okay,
all right.
What are you putting on me?
This is your friend. And this is a gopher snake. Now, at this point, usually people say, well, can it bite me? To which I would say, absolutely it could.
He's just exploring.
He's chilling. He likes you.
Baby, don't you want
there it is. Can I be the background
me?
dancer? Yeah. I don't even know if she has any, Madonna.
Slave for you. Where's its head?
Right there.
Tonight. So they don't have ears.
No external ears, so they don't hear like we do. So I'll see people on hiking trails sometimes with a snake on the ground, and they'll yell at it to try to get the snake off the trail. I just look at them like, you know, they can't hear that, right? Yeah. Okay. But this is I don't know. He's perfectly trained, or he likes you.
Add a tarantula, and I don't know what else. Maybe a gator.
Yeah.
And
You'd
I mean,
be Steve
I'll
Irwin
just walk
Jr.
on the street. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so as this snake is slowly going around my neck, tell me about the training that you do with fire departments. Tell us more about that and why that's so important and what the training entails.
So the training that the fire department has is the exact same training that I put my team through. So it's tried and true and tested to be a very, very safe for both the handler and the snakes. And by that I mean, we don't want to hurt the snake, but we also want to stay safe ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a multiple step process that involves the tools that we use, bucket, tong, hook. This is what the fire department and all my team carry with them. It's a 3-part safety system. So these are snake tongs. This is the snake hook. This is the snake catch bucket with a screw on lid. And that obviously you want to have that so the snakes can't get out. I tell the fire department and our team, regardless of what you think the snake is, let's say they think it's one of those, and we choose to leave these in the car and then we realize it's not that and it's a rattlesnake, we've wasted time.
Yeah,
so every call, the fire department and us, we carry all 3 of these. These come with us on every call. The other thing we use is these sexy boots.
And so describe that. That's not something that we could get in a store. Right?
So you can buy them. These are snake-proof, bite-proof boots. Probably way more than most need. I wear them because I am in deep brush with snakes.
Okay. That one didn't. I heard him.
No, he's fine. He's just chilling on your shoulder.
I heard it go.
Oh, he's breathing. They breathe. They do breathe.
So is he up on my shoulders more because he feels like he's gonna fall?
So venomous snakes use venom to catch prey. Everything else chokes. So that's a constrictor on your neck. How do you feel?
No, I'm okay.
Yeah.
It did freak me out a little bit when I heard him breathe.
So it's probably just an exhale. That snake is all muscle. So if it wanted to, it could tighten up around your neck. Now it's not going to hurt someone your size, but if you were a rodent, imagine what that would do to it. So that's their way of capturing prey, is by constriction. So
how do you know it's not going to, I mean, obviously I'm too big for it to eat, but how do you know when it's hungry? Like if it's going to... Oh, it's definitely hungry. I can see it in its eyes. Okay, so who else do we have? And then do other snakes fight? Yeah, so that was a question you asked earlier. So there are certain snakes that we can put together. If I got 2 calls in a row and they were both gopher snakes, I would put them in the same bucket. The next 2 snakes that I'm bringing out are called king snakes. And do they not get along with this guy? These are too small, but if that was smaller or they were bigger, that would be lunch. So king snakes are called king snakes because they prey. They're not going to see the snake around your neck. Okay. So these are both California king snakes, but what's cool about them is they have totally different patterns. So this is a banded Cal King. This is a striped Cal King. If these 2 were to have babies, you could get any number of color morphs, blotches, dots, stripes, bands. These 2 are a male and female because when I first got them, I caught them, you know what? Oh, well. So they may give us baby kings, but they're going to go back into the wild after tomorrow, the last day of fire training. Yeah, little Luther Vandross. So which one's the female? You know, I don't know. When they were tailed up, all you see is their tails connected. You really can't see what's going on. I didn't separate them to peek. But I would assume maybe this is the boy because he's slightly
It's hard to say. I don't even want to guess. I don't know.
Well, we'll find out. I mean, she doesn't have hips, but usually when when a lady gets pregnant, we all get it around our hips. So I guess the snake's lucky. Yeah.
So these snakes would easily prey on a rattlesnake of the same size. So that snake in that box, which is a rattlesnake, would be lunch for these guys. Okay. That snake around your neck's too big.
So, so what kind of snake would make a good pet if somebody does like exotic
Great
pets?
question. I get that asked a lot of me. So in my opinion, you should never take a snake out of the wild, first of all.
Okay.
Never take a snake out of the wild to be a pet. If you decide you want a pet, go to a reputable place like Triple L Reptile in Oceanside. They sell a variety of different snakes. The snake species that I think is the best starter snake for someone that's never kept a snake before is called a ball python. They are slow moving. They don't get very big. They're readily found. They're not expensive. They eat really well in captivity. And what I've told people in the past is some people go, well, what about a corn snake? So a corn snake, which is about 7 inches when you get it, if a child has it as a pet, he's watching TV and decides to go to the kitchen to get a snack, leaves that corn snake's gone in a split second. Never to be
so fast.
So fast. Whereas you could leave for an hour and come back and your ball python's still just sitting there.
Just chilling, like a sloth.
That's why I think they're great pets, because they're slow moving. A big one might be 4.5 feet, so they're not monster snakes, and they're easy to care for. And snakes are easy pets. You know, you could literally feed them, make sure they have water, and leave for a month, and come back, and they're totally fine.
Yeah, so they're pretty.
Not like
easy.
A dog or cat.
But the rattler, that's probably who we're going to encounter on a San Diego trail. Yeah. Are there trails where you'd say absolutely avoid this trail until this time?
No. So San Diego. We have amazing weather almost year round, so snakes can be out year round. If we get a cold snap where we're getting in the 30s, they will go into what's called brumation, which is basically reptile hibernation, but they don't go down like a bear and sleep for months. They can go into a log or a rock pile or a cave or whatever and stay in there, and then the first sign of a 50-degree day, they're back out again.
So you have to be on alert all the time.
So typically December, January, and February, I can put my gear down for a few months. Didn't happen this year. We were busy all the way through. It was quiet for maybe 3 weeks in January, and then February, it was like summer.
Because of the weather, you think?
We had all that rain in January. So everything flourished, all the plants, then we had insects, and then we had lizards, and we had rodents. February came and snakes were out. They were showing up on trails. There was several reported bites. We had 84 calls in February. Usually we have 20. So it was significantly busier.
So are you more likely to encounter snakes, like how many miles away from the coast?
We have had calls literally on the boardwalk at Beacons in Grandview for snakes.
Oh, okay.
So they aren't opposed to going there. It's just, there's a lot of people, so typically they're not going to gravitate to that area. But there was a bite a few years ago. A guy came out of the water surfing blacks in La Jolla, was waiting for his buddy, standing with his surfboard, felt something on his foot, looked down, and he was standing in the sand, and a rattlesnake had bit him. So they can be anywhere. But that said, most of our calls are east of the 5 freeway. So 5 freeway all the way to the 15 is where we're going to get most of the calls.
It's a good indicator.
Yeah. Back to your initial question, any hiking trail in San Diego, if you're going to be out hiking, be alert. Don't have your earbuds in. Have good solid shoes on. If it's a trail that you can pick the center, be in the center. Because if they're going to be anywhere, they're going to be either stretched out, which is how we often see them, and that means they're sleeping, trying to get warm, or they're going to be curled up on the sides, waiting to ambush a rodent that walks by. So if you walk by right at the edge of the trail, chance you walk right by that snake. So I would say stay in the center of a trail. If you see a snake, the best thing to do, if you can, is just go around it. If the trail's so narrow that you can't and there's no other way, don't step into the bushes.
Yeah.
Because then there could be another one. Go back the way you came and just go back and hike the next day. If you see another hiker coming that direction after you've seen a snake, give them a heads up. Hey, there's a snake on the trail. Because what you don't want is to have two people chatting and step on a snake that no one advised them that it was there. That's when bites happen.
Yeah.
So giving a heads up to people.
Things like that.
Yeah. Any wildlife.
Okay, so did we show the rattler?
Yeah.
I feel like he's bored.
He's been neglected. So this
Where'd you find this guy?
This is the most common rattlesnake that we get in San Diego. This is called a Southern Pacific rattlesnake. Now, What he's not doing, which a lot of people ask, is why is it not rattling? Rattlesnakes don't always rattle. Some do, some don't. Some never stop.
I see his head too,
Yeah,
a lot bigger, like you said.
Yeah, big head. See that tongue flick? He's aware of us. He's sensing us. They use that tongue to smell the air to determine. He's now doing those really slow down and up. He's trying to determine if we're a threat or not. Obviously, you're in no danger. But he's not rattling. And is it that he's not concerned, or is he just a rattlesnake that sometimes chooses not to rattle? Could he rattle at any moment? Sure, but he's not.
And how many species? There's thousands total around the world, right?
Around the world, yes. But in the United States, or California, I should say, there's 72 known species of snakes that we could see. Only the rattlesnake. Now, there's different types of rattlesnakes, but that's the only snake in the whole state that could hurt us.
Okay.
You know, or unless someone brings a snake in and keeps it as a pet that he shouldn't or she shouldn't have.
So what's the last piece of advice if you're going to leave people with some sort of knowledge? If they get anything out of this, what would you tell San Diegans out there?
Yeah, so they're not evil. Snakes have been put here for a reason. They've been here long before us. They'll probably be here long after us. They are here. They're part of our world. They're part of nature. If given respect, they're just peaceful animals that want to be left alone. Don't bother them, don't hurt them, don't try to kill them. The chances of a bite actually happening are almost nothing. Respect wildlife, give them space, allow them to do their thing, but don't go after them, don't bother them, and just enjoy them. I mean, anytime I'm out in nature and I get to see an animal of any kind, it could be a rabbit or a hawk flying over, I'm always grateful. And that includes snakes. I just love seeing our natural wildlife.
Friend. I named him Boris.
Boris.
Yeah.
I think you might be taking him home with you.
Yeah.
It's funny is he's got his head tucked on your shoulder, and that's just where he's chilling.
You know?
Yep, Boris. I like Boris. Maybe that's what
Boris.
I'll continue with that name. Boris the snake.
Boris the snake.
He's moving.
It makes him more pet-like to me. You got to give him a name.
I talk to all the snakes on my calls, and I don't even realize I'm doing it. You know, I video a lot of the calls, or I'll hand my phone to the customer and say, "Do you mind videoing?"
Yeah.
And I'm not really aware of it until I get home and listen to the video. And I'm like, "Hi, sweetheart. Hi, darling." Okay,
I know.
I don't even know I'm doing it.
We do it.
I don't even realize I'm doing it. But
it's our thing.
I love it. Yep.
Yeah, but it makes them seem more docile.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's headed. Boris, are you ready to go?
Boris is just looking back. Totally
Boris,
chill.
thank you for being part of the show.
Thank you,
and
Boris.
Bruce, thank you
thank you.
much.
This was so fun.
Yes, this was wonderful, so informative. Thank you all for watching. I'm Stephanie Simmons with Bruce Ireland, and this is The Backstory.